safety for women is everything. It's this underlying need. And
Mhm.
so we all think about physical safety, right? It's really important for us to feel physically safe. Underneath that is, are you emotionally safe? And women are more like the moon. We are different mentally, emotionally, physically. Self belief, it's just a simple framework. It's three steps. It's state, prove, and self assigned. So if you were to picture a triangle, and now we're in the bottom one, two, three. One is to state. Small sustainability is the way to be consistent and successful in anything.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting Amy Lenius. She is a speaker, certified holistic self improvement coach, and also the creator of Peaceful Period Project. Hello, Amy. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me in your space.
Thank you. So let's start our conversation by diving into your journey of becoming the person you are today. What led you to get the inspiration of what are the true gifts that you have in life?
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things. By the time you hit 37 and you've gone through chronic illness and following different educational paths and purpose paths, it kind of bundles all up into this beautiful space where I am now. But it started out just being very sick, honestly, as a teenage
Mhm.
girl, very sick, and it took a lot and I learned a lot to go through that journey of becoming better, of going through the medical system, of going through surgeries and near death experiences and all of these things. And it left me with a strong sense of self belief, which I didn't have a label for back then, but I can look back and
Mhm.
see now. It led me into finding my voice, to finding my interests, to being able to step into self advocacy and helping others do the same. I do have a background in anatomy and physiology, so that combined with being sick and becoming well. So I have a condition called endometriosis, very
Mhm.
female, very hormonal driven. And so the combination of those 2 things led me to really dive into a passion for women's health. And I started just in my practice as an RMT. I would do a lot of pre and postnatal care and a lot of
Mhm.
pelvic balancing and spinal alignment for women and things. And then I expanded into speaking into spaces of natural wellness for women.
Yeah.
And as that progressed, it was one of those things where I started to notice that I sounded really good. I
Mhm.
sounded really smart. I can go up there and toss around a lot of anatomy terms and give them understandings about their bodies and things. But I would notice that they wouldn't be able to walk away with the principles that I had given them and keep up with them at home. So then I started bringing in a mental health aspect to it because that was a really huge part of my journey as well. You can't
Right.
heal the physical without addressing the mental and vice
Mhm.
versa, right? A mental, emotional, and physical are so connected. And so I started bringing that in as well into my public speaking, and same kind of thing. They would feel really seen, heard. They would go home and do the habits and the practices and the herbs and things for a little while, and then I could see them start to fall away. And so I dove even further into understanding more holistic self improvement. I used to just talk on holistic hormone health. And so,
Mhm.
holistic meaning every aspect of your life affects every aspect of your life. It's not just these physical parts of you, it's your external environment, it's your
Yes.
internal environment. But still, there was these missing pieces. And then I started to partner actually with a company down in the States, not far from you, called Next Level University. They initially had me come on as their MC and live event coordinator, but what I learned from them and have been able to create with them has been life changing into how I speak into people's lives. It was recognizing that underlying all of these things and underlying anyone's journey to success, success being so individual, right? Maybe it's your
Yeah.
journey of being healthy and more well. Maybe it's being, the greatest mother and partner you can be. Maybe it is an entrepreneurial journey or something in your career. Whatever success means to you, underlying are two very pivotal pillars of self belief and self worth. And so
Mhm.
these women would go home and not have enough belief that what I told them was either possible or possible for them, or they wouldn't have enough self worth to even believe that they are worthy of feeling well. And all of those are unconscious thoughts. We don't logically think, oh, I'm not worthy of feeling, better. But
Mhm.
partnering all of that together has led me to fall in love with holistic self-improvement, and now I full-time partner with Next Level University with, Kevin and Ellen. They're the creators and CEOs and founders and daily podcasters on that behalf. And it's quality of life, health, wealth, and love. It's holistic self improvement because we all are searching for, I think, balance sometimes. And
Right.
balance is BS. And I'm happy to talk about that if you would like to. But it's more finding fulfillment and a flow and a harmony between all the hats that you wear so you can actually feel fulfilled in things. And so that's a little mini version of where I'm at now.
I'm so glad you shared with us. And you mentioned this word holistic, which is the combination of mental, physical, emotional wellness, and how it really connects in the whole well-being, especially in women. Like, yeah, I see that you focused on women health a lot and women empowerment. And I just want to really like elaborate more on where do you see the connection that comes to imbalance in terms of the physical wellness? Let's say that certain hormonal disbalance. You mentioned self-worth, believe in feeling good, right? So what do you think could cause women to not feel good in their body in terms of the mental disbalance, or perhaps certain beliefs or limiting factors that will come into play and cause that not there is no alignment in between those two. So perhaps you've seen something with the clients that you coached, or maybe your own experience that you went through, so we can all become aware of this connection and look into that.
Definitely. So, picture your physical being and your physical health as one foot, and your mental and
Mhm.
emotional state and health as another. If you're really just focused on moving forward in one, you are eventually going to start going in circles. They do need to be working together. And some of us find it easier to work on our mental and emotional state, and some of us find it easier to work on our physical state. So we'll kind of lean towards one and neglect the other. But in reality, they do need to work in tandem. And that mental and emotional state, I mean, there's so many reasons why women don't feel worthy or feel good about themselves or believe anything is possible for them outside of what they have told is normal for them to be experiencing. So many women don't understand even that they're cyclical beings, that they're different
Mhm.
every day compared to men who are the same every day. Men are like the sun, they cycle 24 hours. It's their cycle. And we kind of live in a world that is based around that cycle. And women are more like the moon. We are different mentally, emotionally, physically, neuro wise every day. Every day it's slightly different. And
Mhm.
so there are so many just disempowering beliefs out there that we are not given the permission to step out of. And so an empowered belief is understanding that I am different every day. So even today, let's say, I am in a lower energy season as far as my cycle goes. I'm in a
Mhm.
lower energy season, so I'm actually not going to be as articulate, as connected today. I'm not in my outward season right now. I'm actually really in an introspective season right now. And so for me to walk away and say, you know what, last week I was so outgoing, I was way more articulate, I had way more energy, and today I didn't have that. So I suck because I could have done better on this podcast last week. How
Mhm.
many of us are doing that? We're shaming and guilting ourselves into like comparing to ourselves where we
Yeah.
were better before versus now, when naturally as women we have lower energy seasons, we have more introspective seasons. And so for me to walk away now today with an empowered belief was, you know what, I'm in a lower energy season, I'm not as communicative or as articulate as I would be a week and a half ago, but that's okay because that's normal, that's what's supposed to happen. And did I go and give it my best anyways? We don't have 100% to give every day. Sometimes we have 30%. And if I gave all
Mhm.
my 30% that I had to give today, I can feel good about that instead of shaming and guilting myself for not being as good as I maybe would have been last week.
Right.
So just little things like that. And we all have a lot of different beliefs about women's health and period health and things based on
Mhm.
how we grew up, our culture we grew up in, the households we grew up in. Was it talked about? Was it shameful? Was it considered not a nice thing? And so it's what are your core beliefs about this part of you? And are they
Mhm.
healthy? Are they negative? Do they hinder you? Or are they empowered? Or are they at least, are you available mentally even to step into curiosity about it when you hear someone say, you know, you're different every day and that's okay? So,
Yeah.
where are you at belief wise really matters in this. It's your core beliefs around this topic that are going to help you. So, if you are a woman who believes you're supposed to have painful periods, you're supposed to be not able to regulate or control your emotions or your patience or your stress and things, then that is going to unconsciously run your life underneath if that's a core belief that you have that all of those things are
Mhm.
true. When in reality, yes, that is very common. But just because it is common doesn't make it normal or okay. And
Yeah.
so, where are your core beliefs around these topics? And then, how can we gain some curiosity so we can expand to a more empowered space?
Yeah, I think that's very important for us to like embrace our femininity and really step into being that powerful, uh, feminine beings, I would say, with all that comes along with that. So the cycle that you mentioned, that powered by moon, um, it's very like unique, and it's our uh it's part of us, and it really regulates how we're feeling every day, right? So what level of energy we have every day, what kind of food are we tend to eat every day. So it's very like up and down, and it's changing, and it's normal to change. Especially for women, they are very emotional beings, right? It's hard for us to really process those emotions on a daily basis. And apart from us comparing ourselves with ourselves, in like you mentioned, like past week, let's say I was more energetic, outgoing, outspoken. Now I'm in a different season of my cycle. But then we also compare ourselves to other women, let's say we see on social media, right? And we think, why is she looking so gorgeous and I'm feeling this way, let's say, right? And that brings us to this place where we start judging ourselves, judging our bodies, judging the way we feel, and how come I'm not the same person that I want to be, or I used to be, or this person that I'm seeing, right? But how about embracing the uniqueness that you are and really feeling the power in that? And giving yourself that time, prioritizing your mental and physical health on a daily basis to address how you feel, and giving yourself space to feel. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially, depending on your upbringing and your childhood, a lot of times we tend to suppress our emotions. And I think women are more emotional than men usually. And if we just don't give ourselves space to really like process that and understand who we are, how we operate, we tend to really shut down and not being able to create, because this creative energy, this flow state that we get into, it's very connected to the way we really let ourselves feel. Don't you think?
I do. And it is so important to learn to feel our emotions and to understand that we are in more control of them than we think, but also that they do run us, and that's okay. So, for example, we get a really negative reputation in our PMS cycle, our premenstrual phase, right? Where we are a little more emotional. We are actually more in tune with what ticks us off and things. And that's not us being not in tune with our emotions. That's actually our bodies tuning us in to things that matter most to us. And so, 2 weeks ago, when you were ovulating, you cared less about these tiny little things because your body in that moment is actually just, it's trying to get pregnant. That's why you feel
Mm,
good, your face is more symmetrical, you are looking good, you are feeling yourself, you are feeling more outspoken, outward, more social, more into intimacy and all of these things. And then in a week and a half, 2 weeks, it shifts.
mhm,
And now, because your body is constantly just trying to get pregnant, that's like its goal all the time. And so now it thinks, okay, we've ovulated and now we're going to be pregnant soon. And so we need to really button up this environment because we're about
yeah,
to be pregnant and need our environment to be awesome. And so now we actually notice the things that tick us off. We're in tune to things that don't make us feel good or that are being said to us that don't make us feel good that we let slide a week ago, or
mhm,
how our home environment is feeling. Now it ticks us off. And so it's not that you are being unreasonable. You
mhm,
are now more in tune with things that actually matter to you, and you're less able to just let it go. And so
yeah,
it's actually a really important phase. It's a really important phase for you to discern what's serving you, what isn't, what you can be okay with, what you can control versus what you can let go. And so, and you talked about comparing yourself on social media. If you see a woman on social media and she is just crushing it, feeling herself, she's ovulating clearly, and you're in your
yeah,
menstrual phase and you're feeling like a potato, it's not a healthy comparison. We
mm,
talk about comparison as like an apples to apples. You want to compare to an equal comparison because we can be
mhm,
inspired by comparison. Comparison can be a beautiful thing, or it can be detrimental.
yeah,
And when I talked about earlier about self-belief versus self-worth, this is the self-worth pillar. So
mhm,
comparison is one of the 5 most important things we need to be aware of in self-worth is, are you comparing apples to apples? Are you comparing equally? Am I, as a almost 40 homeschooling mom of 2 boys who lives out in the country, comparing my, let's say, fitness journey or lifestyle or how I'm able to do certain things to a single 20-year-old kidless city living woman? It's not the same. It's not going to make me feel very good.
no.
So, are you comparing healthily? Are you comparing where you're giving yourself a chance to actually be inspired? And so we can use it for inspiration because we can find people who are ahead of us in a journey that we would love to go on ourselves.
Mhm.
But if it's not for that, then you do have to be really careful of that because that is hitting your self-worth.
Definitely. And for the inspiration, you see what is possible and not really feeling jealous, but finding yourself um, seeing that example in front of your eyes like a role model. Let's say, if, like you said, if apple to apple, if that's just the same apple, but further in the journey, and then that's where you're heading, you should be excited about it, right? And understanding that maybe it will take you some time and it's not overnight and you have to be patient, but really knowing the direction that you're going, knowing the steps that you're going to take. And I like how you mentioned about the PMS and the emotional, dysregulation, let's say, and how we perceive the environment that we live in, because I think especially for women we have to feel safe all the time. This is like number one in terms of our environment, in terms of like professional and personal life, in relationship. For us to feel secure and safe, it should be number one. If something is not in alignment with that, we feel that something has to go, right? Either that a certain person in your life you have to set boundaries with, or let's say, some kind of like event or opportunity that's come your way, you feel you're not in alignment, you can say no, that's okay. And you have to really like feel what is it true for you. You have to feel how it's gonna benefit your journey, how it will add to the safety that you're looking for, because that's important. And I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, safety for women is everything. It's this underlying need that runs us that sometimes we're not giving enough credit to or enough attention to. And
Mhm.
so we all think about physical safety, right? It's really important for us to feel physically safe. So when
Yeah.
you're looking around your environment, the people you surround yourself with, the places you're going, is that physically safe for you? That's really important. But underneath that is, are you emotionally safe?
Mm.
That is one of the key things to a successful relationship, in any kind of relationship, whether it be in a friendship or in an intimate relationship. Are you emotionally safe? Are you safe to feel your emotions without judgment, without lashback, without that making someone else feel less than, insecure, all of these things that allow them to be defensive? It's really hard for women to be safe in expressing their emotions if we're met with
Yeah.
defensiveness because someone's taking that on, making it about themselves.
Hmm.
That doesn't create emotional safety. And so emotional safety is one of the pillars, not only for us as women, but in relationships as well. Very important.
Yes, emotional safety sometimes, especially in personal relationship, we tend to overlook or compromise, or we kind of like create a story how we can like defend what's happening, like explain the situation. But if it's not right within you, if you feel intuitively, right, this is not how it's supposed to be. I think we should listen to our intuition more and get in tune to within ourselves. How are we feeling about it? And again, like, there are a lot of codependency and abuse that's happening, and women tend to stay in that certain type of relationship just for the sake of kids or whatever. We've been for 5 years. So they feel like they already invested a lot of time into that relationship, and they don't prioritize their own health, and they really jeopardize their own health just to stay in that relationship. And I want kind of like bring the awareness to be discerning and to understand that whatever happens, it's okay to really like stop and really distance yourself and go to a safer place for a while to be by yourself with your own thoughts and emotions, and really like start again. Because a lot of times we just think that it's hard to start a new relationship without like really continue the same that we've been through. And what do you think will help women to get in tune with their intuition and start trusting themselves, to really navigate through life with more confidence?
It is, even in those more very unfortunate and dangerous situations, like you were mentioning, self belief and self worth. Typically,
Mhm.
women in those situations have very low self belief and very low self worth. They don't believe that there is something else out there for them. They don't believe they're capable of finding something else, or that they're capable of leaving, or they don't believe that they're worthy of having more, or that they're worthy of being treated better. The more you step into building self belief and self worth, the less crap you take in your life. Honestly,
Yeah.
the more secure you become in yourself and the more magnetic you become to the right people. And I'm happy to break down those two things and help your listeners really focus in on what those two pillars really mean and how they can build them.
Sure, let's talk about them. What are the two pillars and how we can really build on them to make sure that we have that foundation for the successful life to emerge?
Definitely. Like I said, these two pillars are for any kind of journey you are on, ready, whether you are looking to be more successful financially, entrepreneurially in your work, or more personal life. Any kind of journey you are on as far as fitness, wellness, relationships, they're these standard pillars for whatever your version of success is. And so starting with self-belief. Self-belief and self-worth are very different. Self-belief is your belief in what you are able to create in the external world, what you were able to accomplish in the external environment, out in the
Mm-hmm.
world. And self-worth is what you believe about yourself inside and what you believe you're capable of and worthy of on the inside. Self-belief is it's just a simple framework. It's 3 steps. It's state, prove, and self-assign. So if you were to picture a triangle, and now we're in the bottom, 1, 2, 3. 1 is to state. Say to yourself or in a safe space to people you know, love, and trust who aren't going to diminish you in any way, state that you're going to do something. And I love starting small with this, with
Mm-hmm.
everything. To be honest, small sustainability is the way to be consistent and successful in anything. And so let's use the laundry as an example. I'm going to do the laundry today. That is a state moment. I stated that I'm going to do the laundry. Okay, now I'm going to prove to myself I'm going to do the laundry. So do the thing. Do this
Mm-hmm.
small thing that you said you were going to do. And here's the secret sauce. Step number 3 is self assign that thing. Give yourself the credit for the thing that you said you were going to do and that you did. Take a moment to self celebrate. I already know so many of you are like, why would I celebrate doing the laundry? That is just something I have to do. It has to get done. Okay, but this is where it really counts. On those things that you are doing every day to contribute to your household, your livelihood, yourself. If you can do it for these little things, you can learn to do it for the big things in life as well. But if you're not doing it for these little things, you're also not doing it for the big things. Or you're not giving yourself permission to build self belief or self worth or happiness or experience joy until these big moments happen. And in
Mm-hmm.
reality, we need to be experiencing these things every day. And so there are so many of us that would have a little moment of talking ourselves out of that self assign, that self celebrate. Well, I should have done more laundry today. I should have put away and folded more of the laundry. I
Mm-hmm.
can't celebrate doing this thing because XYZ, it wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you not allowing yourself to self assign, or because your brain is telling you that it's stupid? I'm not going to celebrate myself for that. It's stupid. I should be doing it anyways. Try again. Talk your
Mm-hmm.
brain down. Talk your brain out of it. Okay, but this is what we're doing today, brain. We're going to celebrate everything we do because me doing the laundry actually contributes immensely to my family's well being.
Yeah.
And then accepting that laundry is a cycle and it is never done. Laundry never ends. So don't like put your worth in the fact that, oh, I haven't fully done the laundry. There's already new laundry. It's already done. The laundry is upon us again. It is a cycle. So where are you giving yourself, not enough credit for cycles versus start to finish? But state, prove, and self-assign. How can you have the humility to start small with things as simplistic as laundry, skincare, brushing your teeth, having a shower, cooking yourself a healthy meal, whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Say you're going to do it, and then really self assign that you did that thing. Self belief, that's what that builds in the back of your mind, the belief that you are capable of doing things externally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to start small. Self-worth, I love to think of self-worth, and we do at NLU, we have this framework, and if you picture a pyramid, it's got 5 levels, and actually the
Mm-hmm.
top level is comparison, apples to apples
Oh.
comparison, and so we've already talked about that one,
Yeah.
but on the bottom, it is keeping the promises you make to yourself, which, yay, also builds self-belief because that's literally what we
Mm.
just talked about. So,
Yes.
keeping the promises you make to yourself, learning to set healthy boundaries,
Mm.
and knowing the difference between setting rules and boundaries. So, rules dictate other people. How often are we saying, oh, you can't do that? You can't speak to me that way. You can't treat me that way. You can't do this, this, and this. And then we get mad when people don't respect that boundary or that
Mm-hmm.
rule. Well, you're playing a losing game. We can't control other people. I can say to
Mm-hmm.
someone, hey, don't call me that. Hey, don't speak to me that way. I mean, they can. They still can
Yeah.
if they choose to. So a boundary is understanding that we have only control over ourselves. A boundary is, hey, if you continue to speak to me this way, I am going to walk away from this conversation. That's
Yeah.
you controlling you, right? So learning to have healthy boundaries. Courage, especially social courage, to be empowered in your beliefs, what you want to express, say, how you want to present in the world, and be courageous enough to do so. Be courageous to have tough conversations. Be courageous in pointing out things to others that don't align with you anymore, whether it be, having to set those boundaries and things, but courage, social courage, especially. And
Mhm.
then it's investing in yourself. Now, we like to think that this has to be this big, elaborate thing. And if you can afford to do so, amazing. Go hire a coach, go hire somebody, go, therapy is amazing. Go on the retreats and whatever it is you can. But also, I think we underestimate the power of something small and free that we can do every day. So, you listening to this podcast is you taking a moment to invest in yourself. So, good for you.
Mhm.
And how
Mhm.
often are you doing that? And how can you do something that is accessible, sustainable, and able to be in your pocket in some way every day? How are you investing in yourself in some way every day? You taking care of you and you expanding you is going to build your self worth. And again, have the humility to be able to do that small every day with intention. Doesn't have to be this big, elaborate thing. But if you can, go, fly, be awesome. And then
Mhm.
the last one is that comparison. Are you using comparison as inspiration? Are you having that apples to apples comparison like we talked about, or are you using comparison to be more of a jerk to yourself? We don't want to do that
Yes.
anymore. So those
Wow.
self-belief, self-worth, and if you can start building those things, you are going to build this unshakable being. And there's, always other layers, obviously, but these two help you with your core beliefs, core values, core aspirations, what you want to do in the world, what you want to accomplish, who you want to become. If you have both of those things, it's going to be easier for you to step in and accomplish those bigger things by doing these little things every day for yourself.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for covering all of that. I think it encompasses the core values and principles that we can really cultivate on a daily basis, starting small. Like you just mentioned,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be big because sometimes we're thinking like we're overthinking in our mind. It has to be something grandiose, like otherwise I'm not gonna even do it.
That's right.
But that's procrastinated. That's being like a perfectionist. A lot
Yes.
of women are. I know I used to be. And then, like, yeah, we're all guilty of that. And that's okay. As long as we start changing what we used to do in the past, but now with understanding that those small steps really matter and really the consistency of that, the commitment to change matters. And as long as we build in that self-belief and really like celebrating small wins along the way, showing ourselves the evidence what we can do really builds the confidence for us moving forward and stepping into that new version of who we are really. But we are responsible for it. First is we have to take responsibility and not playing a victim. It's easier to play a victim role in nowadays, blaming anybody, anything for what you don't have or you do have in life. But in reality, you are the one created all of that for yourself, right? So, and there is no escape of that. Everybody in the same shoes, I would say, is just different scenarios. But we have to learn how to become responsible, how to take charge and really move forward, knowing the tools available for us that will support us along our journey to success. And success is different for everybody, like the definition of success, in my opinion, is different from yours, and that's okay. But as long as we know what we want in life, really being clear of what we want and how we see ourselves accomplishing that, what are the steps that's required, right? It just becomes easier the more
Hmm.
you do it.
Hmm. Definitely. I love that you bring in that victim mindset because it's easier in a moment to
Yeah.
be a victim, but it sets you up for long-term pain. And
Mm.
so many of us are taking this this short-term pleasure instead of thinking of what that's going to do long term. When in reality, if we can have short-term discomfort, we're setting
Mhm.
ourselves up for more success later on. So where are you, stepping into, yeah, that victim mentality or just not allowing yourself to feel any kind of discomfort, growth, expansion because it feels easier in a moment to do so, but you're taking away from your future moving forward, right?
Mm.
And so helping to get out of a victim mentality is learning to focus on what you can control and letting go of what you can't. So when we're
Yes.
blaming things on external sources and we're putting so much of ourselves and everything we believe in into external sources that we have no control over, of course you're feeling like a victim because there's
Mhm.
nothing you can do about that. And that feels
Mhm.
very disempowering. But when you can realize, okay, there is nothing I can do about that. What can I do? And I mean, at the end of the day, it is you only can control you. You can only have control over yourself. You do have influence over other things, right? When we look
Mhm.
at circles of control, it's what we can control, that's very small. What we can influence is a little bit bigger, but we don't have full control over it. And then what we can't control is like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It's massive. And if we're constantly focusing on the massive amount of things that we can't control, of course it's going to feel overwhelming and scary. And you want to be in that space of safety, which is victim.
Mm.
Definitely. So what can you control? And a lot of us tie expectations and outcomes to things that are outside of our control. But at the end of the day,
Mm.
if you are tying any kind of expectation or you are expecting a certain result when it has any kind of factor outside of that circle of control, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment and resentment and get into
Mm.
arguments with people and things because at the end of the day, the only result or expectation you can really have control over, or the outcome, I should say, is probably a better word there. When you're looking for a certain outcome, only have that with yourself.
Mm.
Be outcome driven and all of those things when it comes to you, definitely because you have control over that outcome
Yeah.
most of the time. But everything else, we're giving too much of ourselves away, too much away
Yes.
of ourselves that is out of our control. And it's so freeing. And it feels like you can just take a breath and like
Mhm.
haul stuff off your shoulder, all that weight you're carrying around, because it's not yours to carry. And as soon as you can
Yeah.
let that go, you can take a breath, you can be more focused on yourself, focus on your growth, your core aspirations, your core beliefs. Are they empowering? Are they disempowering? What can you do with that? And your core values.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes we also carry the generational trauma and the patterns that comes with that. So, and it feels heavy because it's not ours to carry, really. Once we realize that we can just drop that baggage, right? It becomes lighter.
Hmm. Yep. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not an easy process to get there. I mean, it sounds simple for sure. It
Yeah.
sounds great. Oh, just let it go. But it is uncomfortable, and it takes a lot of breaking of those traumas and breaking of those
Mm.
beliefs that are deep
Right.
in you. We don't logically think a lot of these things because it sounds ridiculous to logically think these things, but it's a
Mm.
belief. It's buried way back there, and it's your job to uncover what that is and then learn to let it go.
Yeah, it's like peeling an onion layer by layer. You start discovering yourself deep, like it's just your willingness to go deep and like really not being scared of what you could discover, but knowing that it's a healing process. And the more you do it, maybe it's going to be uncomfortable and even painful for quite some time, but in the long run, you will free yourself from something that was limiting you all this time. So I think, we all should be really like be aware of what is within us and how we can help ourselves to step into the power that everybody has access to, right? So, and nobody is special, right? So you have the same opportunity as somebody else. It's just your own belief that you deserve that. That's what's on your way to accomplishing that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we had this conversation. And for those who would like to connect with you online, how can they find you?
Yeah, we honestly, I love sending people to our free Facebook community. It's one of the easiest and greatest ways to connect with myself and Kevin and Alan, who believe in holistic self improvement and small wins every day. We are in there. I run the Facebook group myself. It's called Next Level Nation.
Mhm.
And I am posting something in there every day that is just going to help you tune into your self awareness a little more. Sometimes it's a deep question that brings you a lot of thought. And sometimes it's really simplistic. Like, what do you prefer with chocolate, caramel or peanut butter? You're like, oh, I don't know. Which one do I like better? Because all of these little things, whether it be simplistic or deep, add to your self awareness. And the more you understand yourself, the more you're going to be able to thrive. And we believe in those small improvements every day. And so, Next Level Nation is a space that is free, it's full of growth oriented people, and we have a lovely time in there.
Yes, definitely. I will also include that in the show notes for people to join the Facebook group. And as we close today, what would be the final thought for our listeners?
Mm. I think I would just build on self awareness. If you're a woman out there who is not aware of how your cycle works and you're giving yourself too much of a hard time, maybe that's going to be an empowering belief for you. Maybe a little more self awareness of where you're at as far as self belief, self worth. Do you feel it's really low? Okay, well, go back and listen to those steps and pick one. It's impossible to do all things at once. So, of let's say the 5 things in the self worth category, which one are you really good at already? Maybe you're really good at setting boundaries, so you don't need to focus on that one. Which one on that list was really low for you that you need a boost in? Maybe it's comparison. How can you work on that one? Small, sustainable steps is how you're going to win all the time. And how can you get into a state of more accurate self awareness without judgment, just total acceptance of where you are now so that you can build sustainably moving forward?
Yes, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you, you as well. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.